Welcome everyone to Living a Legacy Life Live here on YouTube and Facebook. And I welcome you today. It's the beginning of the new year, 2025. I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope you are as well. And being that this is the first live show, remember it comes raw, so you can tell I am still in the kitchen, so I'm still house sitting, and therefore it's not like a studio setup, but it's living life as it is, unfolding, and that's great. I enjoy that. And you probably just notice maybe see that tea kettle, and then in the front is a teapot, a cat teapot. So I have it there just as a reminder of living this wonderful life, this legacy life. And today I want to just go over some basics with you. I have an update about where we're going with the Younger, Older, Elder channel. I would like to go over 5 activities that I believe you could try. You could try 1, 2, 3, all 5. And then I have 5 daily encouragements for you, so you could pick 1 or 2 or 3 and bring them into your life. And then I have a couple of asks of you that are going to be linked back to the update. And then I'll be checking if you have questions at any point in time. I will take a look and see what's unfolding for us and take it from there. So with that, I think it's time to sort of jump in and see what is possible for us. Now, being able to give you this update, it's to lean you into 2025, living a legacy life. And I just want to bring some light to that statement because I believe that we all have a life. We're living. We have a quality of life and a standard of living. And each one of us has some kind of an expression of that. And then we might put an adjective like a good life, a great life, memorable life, remarkable life, extraordinary life. I know along the way, I've had the opportunity of having all of those adjectives in front of life. From my time working in Africa and Australia and visiting and doing courses in China and Ethiopia, and just having a lot of fun doing a lot of different kind of activities. And along the way, memories there, and some of them I've captured in journals and 35 millimeter slides using the camera years ago. And some of them being remarkable, like machine guns touching the tip of my nose, to sitting on the porch and watching tracer bullets go over my head. I was situated near war zones. And I've also had some extraordinary experiences over summers, like whitewater rafting. I was a whitewater rafting guide, senior guide, and I was able to assist people from all over the world to experience whitewater in the Canadian rivers here in Alberta. So I've had lots of opportunities. And if I was to ask you, what would be some of those good, great, memorable, remarkable experiences you've had and extraordinary experiences? I bet you could list off a number of them. There's got to be at least one there, right? I have some people go, no, I haven't lived that kind of life. And I go, no, I don't know. Every person has an adjective in front of their life and living that. And there is something to be said for sharing that. And that's where legacy came about, putting legacy in front of life, living legacy life, that I came to really appreciate over the last 5 to 10 years. I dabbled in it 5 years or so ago, and it hasn't been to the last couple of years where I really got into it and said, there's something extraordinary, but more of a legacy life here. And that's what I so want to share with you is some of my learnings And by asking you to put comments in the down below this video, maybe go to the contact form on the website and leave me some thoughts. You can find me on LinkedIn at Stephen Hobbs Calgary. There are different places where we can interact, and you can let me know what's happening in your life and ask questions of me. And to be able to do that, I have set up this Saturday lives so that we can go through different ideas and see where we go with that. I'm going to start inviting some persons to join us and sort of see what unfold for the conversations, these really wonderful conversations, collaborative conversations that we can have. And so to be able to get us going, I just want to do a quick update here about some things that are starting to unfold. And what I'm looking at having happen here is to take a look at what might be possible for us to get together and share some thoughts. So I have a couple of courses that I'm looking at doing. And one of them would be on legacy mentoring, and another one would be on this whole notion of legacy mastery. So those are the two possibilities that I'm looking at. I'd certainly like to know which of those might be your preference. The legacy mentoring would be is, what does it mean to be a mentor? What would be the education concepts and then mentor practices that would go with that linked to legacy? Whether you're taking up mentoring as a legacy project, or you may be helping others mentor them in creating legacy stories and contributions and projects. So there's a couple of ways of looking at it. The legacy mastery is really digging into, okay, of contribution stories, projects, what could I create? What could I bring to the foreground? What could I craft, shape, and share? And often what I do is depending on what we're getting into, I often say, well, let's get to the beta, that beginning project that you may want to do, that beginning contribution, and sort of set it up and test it and see where it goes for you. So that's what the legacy mastery is about. I've offered both of these in different kinds of formats, but I'm looking at actually creating courses where I get together on a weekend or a Friday and go through it, and we would do it live online, and then eventually get to what I call a signature course where you can take it self-directed. But I would like to know which of those two you'd like first. So that's one of the things that I'm asking of you at this point in time. The next thing I would mention is that on a monthly basis, I am going to be doing a 5-day challenge. So it would start on a Monday and it would go through to the Friday. I'm not quite sure. I'm thinking about the third week of each month to be able to do that. And really what it does is it just sets up thinking about, okay, what is it that I can do for this month, the end of that month, and into the next month. And then if you want to come back and do the challenge again, there will always be some slight variations in what it is that I'm presenting. So it will always feel a little fresh, if only for me. And certainly for you. So you can come back and do it again. Now, there are going to be some costs associated with legacy mentoring and mastery. The challenge is a pay what you can. So $5, $10, $100, whatever it might be, you can set it up. But it's also there if you can't afford it, get involved. It's okay. Just jump on in and let's see what we can do to help each other. And it's a great opportunity to have conversations with others, because in it will be opportunities to break up into some small groups and have some conversations with each other. The other thing that I'm looking at doing is creating 2 books. One is a planner, And the other one is sort of a leaning into the story of legacy life and being able to figure out, okay, what can I do? So the planner has more of a how to prompt book. The Living Legacy book has a bit more of an e-book flavor to it that you would read through. So both of these would be available through Amazon and the website, and you can get into those. I'm going to be doing a pre-list for those. So if you want to sign up for them, that would be great. So that's a little bit of an update about what's taking place. And so I'd like to get into what I might call 5 activities that you can get involved with, must-try activities. So I'm certainly encouraging you, all of you, to take one of these up and say, hey, that would be great. I think there's something here that might help me out. So the first one is, I know it's the 4th of January and people have resolutions, goals, they've had those kind of conversations with themselves. And maybe this is a slightly different way of looking at it, but there is a sense of what I call a legacy map and a legacy plan. And I make the distinction because I'm asking us to take a look at them as a way in which to get clarity about living this legacy life. And the clarity is from consistency, because if you can figure out a pathway for yourself and be consistent in walking that pathway, then what you'll do is you'll start to find that you will start down this path, finding destination points where you can sort of stop, rest, take care, move on, and keep walking forward. And this notion of quality of life and standard of living will be influenced by that. And I think that's a great way for us who are 50s, 60s, 70s to really benefit from walking this path and taking this unique journey, but also adventuring together. So when I think of a legacy map, I'm thinking about the landscape. In other words, really looking at it as though I'm looking this way. I'm looking this way. I'm going sort of left to right, right to left. And I'm looking at what's going on. So it's very much about being aware of what's going on around you and bringing those insights into your life. So if you're doing an activity that is of benefit to other people, you're tapping into a landscape view of that. You're gaining clarity without that you can bring within. And therefore, what you can do is you can then set up, okay, I want to look at this notion of the portrait of my legacy plan. So the portrait is for me, the landscape is with others. And therefore, I find it useful to look out what's there and bring that into me so that I can figure out what it is that I want to do from my plan point of view so I can take it back out again. So landscape is without, within. Portrait is within, without. Another way I would do this is landscape is about my awareness of what's going on. My portrait is about my consciousness about what's going on. So for me, I would encourage you to create a legacy map and legacy plan based on what I've just shared. And if you need to, just zip back, listen again, and see what's going on. Remember, this live will be up on the YouTube channel, Younger, Older, Elder. So you can come back and listen in. But if you're here now, great. Hopefully you're writing a few notes for yourself, and let's see where it is that this takes us. Now, the next thing I would encourage you to try is write your legacy story. Now, the is something that's sort of in general, okay? And you're going, okay, this is a legacy story I could share. So I might share a legacy story about that young chap, the young boy on that swing with the background of the Himalaya mountains and write a story about that through a play recreation theme. It's just to get that memory out, bring it to the foreground, and you have a story, and therefore you can bring out many of those, and they may become a collection. And one of the great ways is there a picture, a painting, a slide that you have that you could tap into to look at a story? The story is it's starting to get a little bit more about you. And you're going, okay, this is a story that becomes the story that I want to share. There's great meaning to it. And so I want to bring it to the foreground. And often the story is what we'll talk about around the dinner table or when we're getting together at a campfire, or we're getting together to have a drink with one another, go out for a meal. There are about you, these stories that you want to share, but also it's about you. You could think of you as being singular, there we go, or it could be plural. So you could talk about the story that is a landscape story about what you're doing as a project that may be helping out a group of youth in a club, and you may be doing some environmental work, and you're going, I want to share the story of what I'm doing with the kids, with these youngsters, these youngers, and bring that to the conversation. So I'm making a slight distinction between and the. Being a little bit more general, the being a bit more specific. It's got you sort of sharing that story, but there's also your story. And this could be written from the perspective of an autobiography. It could be a memoir. It could be a legacy story that is shared through recipes that you've collected. This could be a collection of the and the stories that you put together now and form it as here is a pathway that I've walked, and I want to share that with you. So your story starts to get to a bit more being specific, okay? And you're going, okay, I really want to dive into this. And the sense of the deeper emotions aspect, where and they can have emotions, but they tend to be a bit more from the head. Whereas as you really get into the legacy story, you're getting a lot more heart involved with that. Now, the and your story always has probably some hands, feet connection with it. So think about it from that perspective. And one of the things that I do is I have recipe cards that I work with, and I just jot notes down and I put them off to the side. I have what I call the side of my desk, the muse of the side of my desk. So you could do something that's similar, or grab a spreadsheet, write your notes, or open up a document on your tablet, your computer, write your notes, and grab a journal and write your notes. And just sort of keep track of what's going on. I also have bins around me. And what happens is when I go through my material every once in a while, all my folders and journals and poetry books and all that I have written, what I'll do is I will put the samples or aspects of that into those bins, and I will come and do something with them later. And that gets me my the stories, and put that in choosing what is my story, your story that I want to share. So food for thought, give it a go and see what happens for you, okay? Now, what I'm hoping is that some of these activities, these two that I've shared, I've got three more, and then some encouragements for you, let me know what works for you, okay? Because that helps me to understand what other ways might I help you out. So someone has asked me about, can you do something about storytelling? And I said, I can, but I will then up the game and share something about story sharing. And they said, oh, that'd be great. So if that's of interest, let me know. Maybe there's something about how do I actually formulate a story? How might I use something like mind mapping? I've created a visual language that I use, and I could share something about that. But I just asked, what would you like around some of that? Because that helps me to figure out what might be some of the next programming that I could offer and get you involved. Maybe you can come in as a guest and talk about some of that. So let's look at it from that perspective and see what happens. Now, the other thing is you may not have met me. I am Stephen Hobbs. I am the CEO of Wealth Movement, WELLTH, about well-being and well living to the nth degree. And I came to understand that because of some of the experiences that I've had around the world, and I share some of those in other videos. And another day, I may do a deep dive into the story of wealth for you. Again, let me know if that's of interest. The movement is there because of the physical aspect of like walking, which is something I do, all the way up to social cultural movement. So I think of legacy, living a legacy life, as a movement for those 50s, 60s, and 70s. So I'm attempting to place that sort of concept and practices for the world, and therefore well-being and well living to the nth degree, physically all the way up to actually living a legacy life. That is the sort of the bookends of what it is that I do. So that's a little bit about who I am and what I'm doing. And thank you for joining here on the Younger, Older, Elder. And please subscribe and comment. That's so appreciated. Now, what I'm going to do is take you into the next one, a next try activity, which is start a journaling practice. And I put bracket nature, and I'll explain what that's about. The journaling practice, you've heard of gratitude journals, and you've heard of diaries. You've probably heard of just journaling what you've done over the course of the day, and maybe from a fitness perspective. All of those are just ways of documenting your thoughts and feelings about what it is that you've done and or plan to do. Now, the diary for me tends to be a little bit more, this is for me. The journal, I can let others see it. And then you can create things like portfolios and books, which is taking it out even farther. But this idea of starting a journal is, I would encourage you to look at a journal book through, again, you could turn that book so that it is landscape, or you could work with it from a portrait perspective. So you're looking at it landscape and turning it so that you're writing about what it is that you're seeing, your awareness, and bringing it in, and journaling about that, doodling, sketching. You can also use your the book from a portrait point of view, and these are the sort of key learnings of the course of the day, and I would just want to get them down. So in a sense, if this was a coiled book and you had the coil up here, you could set that down on the desk so that it has this versus this. And the beauty is it helps those who are left-handed and right-handed. Because when you do the portrait one, and it's still there, the coil tends to be in this direction. Now, it's possible to flip it around again and write in a slightly different way as well. So what I'm sharing here is from a journaling practice point of view, you don't have to just look at it as it's presented. What could you do to move it flip it around, turn it upside. What can you do? And even while you're writing in it, you might be writing and then go 90 degrees, then go 180 degrees, go 270 degrees, go 46.23 degrees, whatever it is. Let your imagination really work with the journal and therefore develop up this practice. Remember, I mentioned earlier, I've created a visual language that I use, and I found it to be very valuable, and it's always present, even if it's not in my journals, when I'm approaching something and I may be looking to make a decision. Oh, okay. I can draw it out. I can put words associated with it and make it happen for me. But where I put the bracket of nature is that I would just want to remind you that there are 5 ways of looking at this notion of nature. It could be muse, it could be a metaphor, it could be a self-care companion, a living systems educator, and an inspiration for every breath. And therefore, if you bring nature and you bring nature as a topic, your involvement with nature, and open up a journal for yourself, it's actually a great way to get, yes, into your awareness, but it's also a great topic to bring from a consciousness point of view. And how do the two work together? So in a sense, what takes place, which is kind of a fun way of looking at it, is that you could almost go, ooh, there's a pair of glasses that I can look through and go, oh, that's kind of a neat way. I can use my journal and the lenses and the glasses and how I see what's taking place. And again, what that does is it gets to a point of understanding about the analogies and metaphors and similes that you can play around with. So again, I would encourage you to get involved with this journaling and develop your practice. And it doesn't have to look like perfection. That's not what it's about. It's about you being able to interact your thoughts and feelings through your hands and your feet because of walking around, and just bringing it to the surface for yourself. So think about it from that perspective, okay? Now, what I want to do is take you into the next one, which is volunteer for a cause you love. Now, the volunteer capacity here is that a lot of people think, I want to get paid for things, but in this case, you might go, I'm actually going to do this from a place of, might be philanthropy, it might be a place of volunteerism. You are going to do something, you're going to give of your time, effort, and money in such a way as to support something, a cause that you love or you are interested in. Now, the notion of love, this is kind of an interesting word, because what I'm getting at here is, what is it that you can get involved with from a leverage point of view? And that leverage point of view says, okay, this is great. I want to be a lover over the age of what I want to get involved with, and I want to volunteer. Let me do it through this feeling of being a lover through the age and being able to contribute for community, with community, from community. Because in doing so, one of the other things that you come to understand is that another way to look at this is love and rage. And it's unfortunate that we sometimes slip into the rage component of it, right? When it would be, if we could, getting it more from a leverage point of view rather than a rage point of view. And therefore, when I think of love and rage, I go, okay, how is it that I can get into the leverage of this as a whole? Because I want to bring love forward and I'm interested in doing something that's going to improve the cause that I'm linked with. So let me give you an example of that from my perspective. What I do is I really enjoy helping others who are writing books. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll just volunteer, I'm not going to charge them, to read their books and give them some feed forward. And I can sometimes get right in there and do that. And to some person's surprise, because they usually think, oh, okay, that's great. I'll get some base comments. But I'll sometimes actually go in to the gum of it, the grammar, usage, and mechanics. Really dive into it and say, maybe you missed the bridge here or whatever it might be. So I'll go in rather than just, yeah, it's a good book. I see where you're going. I'll actually dive into it and I'll volunteer to do that. Now, that's just an example of my part. You may find that you want to do something with the animal center that's close to you, all different kinds of animal centers. You may want to deal with something to do with people being on the streets. You may want to do something that has to link to pollution. You may look at something that is, how do I help get this really great idea of legacy and living a legacy life out around the world? That'd be great. So there are things that you can get involved with, some causes that you can get involved with to be able to help what's taking place and what's transpiring. So I just bring that to the surface for you and see what comes of it. And the next one that I want to just chat with you about is this whole idea of curate what you want to share. If there's anything that I have learned along the way in this whole living legacy life journey, is that of all the things that I have collected and I think are of value, they may have no value to other persons. So why would I necessarily want to leave something that has no value to others? Why don't I figure out what I can do with it now? And maybe I have to recycle it. Maybe I have to give it away and so that others can use it in some other capacity. But I may not be able to leave all of what I have in bins and boxes so that someone comes in and has to declutter. Why don't I do the decluttering and figure out what it is that I want to do with what I have? And therefore, this whole idea of curating, figuring out what you have so that others can benefit from it now, not necessarily physically, but there may be something here. You may not want to leave a whole pile of slides that you shot when you were younger. You might go through them and go, hey, there's some stories here, which goes back to something I've actually mentioned. And you go, I could actually write a story there and then put that together. Oh, hang on a minute. I have some recipes of things that I cooked or I collected with proper attribution, of course. Oh, I could put that. Oh, hang on a minute. This could become a little bit of a memoir. Oh, hang on a minute. I could put that book up into the National Library of Canada. Oh, that's kind of an interesting contribution. Oh, now let me turn that into a project and see what I can do. Oh, could I help others do that? Yeah, I could become a legacy mentor and help others do that, which would be another contribution on my part. So this whole notion of curating what you have, decluttering, actually frees up energy that you may have, that gives you the opening for effort and the time to give it in a volunteer capacity. So this notion of curating what you have and what you want to share has a sort of what we'll call is, okay, you've got something over here, you're going to do something with it, and what that does is it ripples out possibilities for you. So give that a consideration. I'm actually, next week, I think what I'm going to do is do something around this whole idea of curating to share through decluttering and what that means. So keep an eye out for that one. I think that would be an interesting one to do. I've been thinking about it myself simply because I'm going through all of that. Living this digital nomad lifestyle, I don't want to have a whole bunch of stuff in storage. So I keep getting it down into some bins that I can just carry with me. And so I usually keep it to around 10 to 12 bins that basically fills up a vehicle. So if I move to another place, load them in, out they come the other end. The only thing that's a little bit cumbersome sometimes is that I got a great chair or an office chair, and I bring that with me if there isn't one in the place where I'm going. So sometimes that's the one that has a little odd shape to it and poses some issues in loading, but I find a way. So what is it that you're curating that you could share with us that says, I'm curating it in this way so that it will have this ripple effect? Love to hear that story, a story from you in that way. So give it a thought and let us know what is unfolding for you. Okay, that would be wonderful. Now, what I'd like to do is move into some daily encouragements. But before I do that, I just want to check to see if there's any comments that are coming in the chat. I'm not seeing anything at this point in time. Okay, and that's wonderful. That's okay. And let's sort of see what we can do with our next topic. So I also want to encourage you, all right, with the following is if you have any questions, put it into the chat, and even afterwards, you can put them into the comments section or go to the contact form on the website. And please keep coming back and checking for the next long and short videos, because every morning by 8 o'clock-ish, I do my best, Calgary Mountain Time, I put up a short, which is usually somewhere between 50 to 59 seconds, a prompt about living a legacy life. Could be in the form of a question, could be a very short story, whatever it might be. And it's to prompt you to grab that journal, your legacy journal, and maybe write down your thoughts that's connected with that. And then there are other long videos that I put out to continue to share the story of living a legacy life. What else do I want to do with us here? And just as a reminder, please subscribe and watch lots of videos. That helps out with the algorithm with the younger, older, elder, and I certainly appreciate that. And all right, I think what we're going to do is that's going to take us back into looking at the daily encouragements. Now, with these ones, you can take 1, 2, 3, do one a day. So you have 5. This could be your own personal challenge right now and sort of see what you come up with. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in each one. I'm just going to highlight it, and then you can ask questions or comment. But these are ones that I have brought to my attention and set intentions every day to do them. So these 5 every day, I find some way in which to lean into each one and see what I can do. So the first one is legacy starts with how you live today. So I live a legacy life and attempt to get into memorable, remarkable, extraordinary experiences every day through a walk, writing, whatever it might be. So I live each day with vitality, with wealth, well-being, and well-living. The next one is your legacy is a living, breathing story. Now, the great thing about breath, if you actually go back into what breath is, inspiration, and you think about breathing in and the inspiration, actually breath comes from spirit. So this notion of breathing is the inspiration, the breath in you take. So if you're living your legacy each day, it is a way in which to breathe in spirit. And therefore, when you share the breath with others, then inspiration is happening, motivation is there. So think about it from that perspective. Embrace collaboration over isolation. As I appreciate as we get a little older, we sometimes go, I don't want to bother anyone. I don't want to ask for any help. And I go, oh, hang on a minute, come back here. Collaborative conversations, being able to have those conversations where you can ask for help, you can offer your help, you can just share your point of view with others. It's important for you and for others, because something you learned yesterday may be of value to someone tomorrow. So give that a go and see what happens. That's why I do my prompts on by 8 o'clock in the morning. Those short videos it's thinking through and then sending something out that might be a collaborative support to someone. Reframe aging through a legacy lens. When I jumped into this aging, I had a bit of a aging attitude of, okay, I'm getting older. And then it's when I caught on about 5 years ago, and that would have been in my early 60s. And I know I was turning a corner in a sense that 65, for some people, it's a number. But I started to get persons in the checkout saying, oh, do you want your senior discount to go with that? Sure. My point being here is that all of a sudden I started to realize, and I hadn't seen it, that others were seeing me in a certain kind of way. And instead of me being about it, I went, oh, I think there's something here. And what if I looked at it through a legacy being about what are the useful whats I can gift others so that they can learn something from my experience. My useful whats were time, effort, and money. And it just shifted my way of looking at this notion of collaboration, my breathing and sharing, and my living. And so it helped my standard of living and my quality of life, more so my quality of life, because of how I went at it, the more of an optimistic way. The other component of this is prioritize impact over image. Now, there's sometimes we can go, okay, I need to present myself in a certain way, and maybe that might influence someone, that's great, but I may not go all the way to, well, what would be the impact of that? So one of the things that I made a decision, like in my social media interactions, I said to myself, I'm not going to get into offering comments about certain topics. That was me. I'm not saying that you have certain topics or maybe you want to just go free reign. That's up to you. But I wanted to come across as someone who's living an extraordinary life, who's willing to share, and I'm offering some ways in which to do that, that I'm putting hope and faith and grace into it, that it's actually impacting others. And I've been able to get that feed forward. Some persons I've interacted with, helping them with their businesses, helping them with developing their legacy life approaches. And I said, Yes, that's great. And that's how I've set up my life. I prioritized it around this, using a legacy lens, being collaborative in what it is that I do, um, breathing a story of contribution, and being able to really get that quality of life up for myself. So these 5 daily encouragements is something that I have brought into my life. I find ways to do that and to be able to bring that to the foreground. So I leave that with you. But just before I go into the next component, do any of those 5 you already do? Comment below, let us know, and then share how you're doing it. That helps, right? You could say, well, I'm doing one, and I'm doing it in this way. I would appreciate reading it. I so enjoy reading the comments. And again, maybe that might spark another topic for a live or a video, or maybe we can have a conversation about that and see what we can do to help others as we continue to in our living legacy life. So remember earlier I mentioned one of the topics was my ask of you today. So there really are 2 asks today. One, watch videos here on the channel, because that really helps for YouTube to find me and say, hey, there's something going on over here, and that could be of great value. So that is something that I would so appreciate. And 2 is, let me know of the courses that I am thinking about creating, which is that legacy mastery or legacy mentoring. Which one of those would be your priority right now? Which one would you like to get involved with? And if you're not quite sure what either of them are about, then I will be explaining them more on my website of wealthmovement.com, and you'll notice it here at the bottom. And if you have questions about it, then use the contact page, and there is a base contact where you can ask a question, but there's also a couple of forms if you want to fill out to subscribe to the monthly updates, and or just let me know what maybe some of your priorities are. So there is that that there for us. So with that, I think that we have got a lot of coverage has taken place, and I have come to the close of what's going on. I don't see any chat requests at this point in time, and therefore I think I've covered off the topics that I wanted to get across today. So thank you very much for joining me here today and being able to partake of what we looked at. The update that I shared with you, the 5 must-try activities for 2025, 5 daily encouragements, and with those must-try, if you haven't done any of them, grab one. Give it a go and see what happens for you. Again, let us know as well in the comments section. The daily encouragements, maybe you're doing one of them, take it up to 2. See what comes of it. If you've got a different one, put it in the comments section below as well and see what happens. And my asks of you again is to watch lots of the videos, watch other lives, and also just watch the other videos on the channel, shorts and longs. And let me know, is it legacy mentoring or legacy mastery that you would prefer to take up and get involved with? Legacy mastery being about actually looking at the contribution stories and projects, how to put them in action, shape share them. Legacy mentoring is how to become a mentor and using it in capacity as one of your contributions, possibly. So let me know what's happening. And at any time, again, remember, just ask questions. Willing to support you in what's going on. So with that, I thank you for joining me and watching this video if it's in your recorded mode for you. I certainly encourage you to live legacy life to its fullest. And just remember, when you listen, you learn. Where you share, you educate. It's a great insight for living a legacy life. So with that, take care.